All right, there we go. It's time. It's start another session of Ironsworn. Welcome back, everybody. If you can recall from last episode, as I can pretty much always say, we left on a little bit of a jam for Flint. This one, probably like a boysenberry-ish kind of jam that we left him in. It was dark, and it was sticky. It was a bad time, and I actually want to just dive right in and start this with a little bit of a moving back. Just a tiny little bit. We're just going to rewind. It's like when the beginning of a new episode of a TV show just shows you that like last scene that we already saw, but it just gives you like a slightly different perspective on it, or just adds that little bit more detail before continuing into the main program. So, as we recall, last time, one of the last things we saw was the moment where Flint, covered in this like sticky sap, like the and erupted, just kind of dark magic sap that had erupted out of these. God, I had the word last session so easily, I don't remember. But he's covered in this, trying to get away from these mutants, as he was slowly kind of mutating himself as a result of this this awful caustic fluid, and was too unable to get away, too slow, got just piled upon as they just rail against him, limbs flailing, just tearing at flesh and everything. His vision gets blurry and fuzzy as consciousness slips away from him. And this time, little difference, the little detail that I didn't mention last time. As we recall, he had been trying to swallow the key that they were. He had gotten this this magic that we detailed a little bit, and it was not his problem. They were, all of these mutants were after it, and in desperation, he had tried to swallow it and wasn't able to do it, and that's how we kind of led to all of this. This time around, though, like he had been, as he was being torn in, he was still clutching this key, which he described as having an almost like the One Ring kind of pull on people desire this. It to be possessed, and it makes you want it. And despite being torn apart, he's just clutching onto this key. And when he slips out of the consciousness and enters the dream, to see his body being mutilated in the physical realm, when he opens up his palm, he feels that the key has gone through to the other side. And we see that glimmer this time, before he's then distracted by what we said last time, the swinging light around the corner. It's kind of swaying forth, the light that's coming from the lantern of one of these dream stalkers, or dream eaters, whatever we were calling them. The monsters that live in the realm just a little, it's like the upside down kind of thing, just off of ours, this crossing plane of the dream realm that seems to be very close to our reality within these cursed minds. And so while Flint has slipped through to the other side, or at least his kind of dream self has slipped through the other side when he lost consciousness, fell asleep, he's now by what could potentially be far worse monsters that loom in the dark of the dream realm. So, while we did share our that we would find a new body and rejoin the physical world, we need to get out of the situation. Because I feel like that vow was kind of like a whisper to himself as he like huddles against this cropping of stone. The lantern, kind of like there's like a searchlight moving around, trying to find him. He's this almost like a prayer is this iron vow that he swears to himself while touching. I think we determined last time that it was just the key itself had an iron component. Or was just roughly made of iron, and so we swore on the key, which is now making me think of the line about swearing by the precious as opposed to swearing on the precious. Anyway, let's make a move, because at this point, Flint definitely needs to get to some kind of safety here. And we're going to make this as a delve move. Because now we finally have the opportunity to proceed through the mines with Shadow. It finally makes sense. We talked about before how you can go through either like quickly and use your edge, you can go through like really taking your time and with careful observation of your environment, which is wits. And as you can see over there, I'm not really great in either of those, but Shadow I've got a 2 in, and Shadow is when you're trying to move stealthily and not be noticed by some of the other inhabitants. And now that he's being stalked by these like guardians of well, not even really guardians, but these predators of the dream realm, it finally makes sense to me to allow him to use Shadow on this. Because I'm not making him being found by these part of the failure that we had that led us here. It was, as I recall, a complication, like a double 8 complication that brought us to this realm, but we've seen all the things that are going to happen out of that. I think the fact that I killed the character is complication enough. Functionally killed him. His body is dead. So he's looking for those moments to get a chance and stealth his way out of this part of the mine so he can get some kind of safety, recoup, get his bearings, and maybe find the fortune teller, who now could have some very different wisdom for him about finding the new body. So with that in mind, I do think that one of the first milestones I'll reach on finding a new body and rejoining the physical world will indeed be finding the fortune teller. Finding the fortune teller will be a milestone in its own right. Then there's probably going to be some other stuff on top of that of like how I find that body, how I do the ritual, what I have to do to get it done. But let's do this. So, pulling up the delve moves again. We need to delve the depths with Shadow. So here we go. First roll of the game. Traditionally, this has always been a miss. I think without exception, I've missed on every single one of these first rolls of the game. So I should really do just some kind of throwaway roll, but I don't buy into that mysticism about dice. I believe in statistics, and I am just gonna do it. Rolling Shadow. Let's see what happens. However, tradition is tradition, and there's our miss, because of course, it's almost as just a middle finger to my beliefs about how there's no such thing as dice luck and all these superstitions. We're just gonna have the same thing happen every single time. So we'll start off with our first miss of the night. We had to get it out of the way. So on a miss, I need to reveal a danger. So this is one of the more mechanized parts of the game. There's a little bit more of a kind of a process, a cycle that you go through. So on reveal a danger, let's see what happens. I need to roll a D100. And we've got a whole card here with different possibilities of what kind of danger it'll be. It's not necessarily getting found out in this case. 57. However, that is actually the very top number that is you encounter a hostile denizen. 58 would have been something else. But 57 specifically was indeed you encounter a hostile denizen. So I think it's clear that what happens here, this Dream Stalker, this which I like that name for them. I think I've said all sorts of things in the past. I think I've said Dream Eater in the past. Dream Stalker, I really like the sense of them kind of looming over you. Well, my body is dead, but we may well be seeing the death of my soul right now. Which I don't know exactly how I'm going to mechanize that. I think right now, since we're in kind of a metaphysical realm, my spirit is probably going to be a stand-in for my health, which, as you can see, my spirit is not doing all that well either. So I don't have I'm not well tied to this world. I really need this to go well for me, and we're not off to that particular start. So yeah, Flint tries to find his move, and I think it's just like while getting used to this new kind of body and like sense of reality, it's harder to get a sense of like where is light and shadow, how do it's like when you've gone through puberty and you've like grown so much, like he doesn't know like what kind of space he occupies. And I think he just easily does some like tripping over some rocks or something, like he's fumbling around it's like his legs are new, and just doesn't have the control over it, stumbles, makes enough noise that there's the kind of like the kind of just turn of this cloaked stalker with the lantern, whose eyes just start glowing red and giving chase after him. He's fully aware of where he is now. I believe it just like hiding is not an option. You can't hide when somebody sees where you go. So we could just directly try and fight. Again, I'm not going into it with the best health here, but fighting is something I could do better than like trying to run away, certainly. So it might still be my best option to just wrestle with I keep picturing him basically like a ring wraith. So have that picture in your head. Glowing red eyes, and holding a lantern as opposed to like a sword. But just imagine a ring wraith. Just frayed clothing and everything. Except probably a little bit less physical. I don't imagine them having actual legs. I imagine the cloak kind of trailing behind and floating along. And that similarly, there's no like body. It's only the floating clothes, and like the lantern itself is like hovering in front of what looks like an outstretched, like where an arm would be in the cloak, but there's no like hand or anything that's holding it, at least not right now, which means it's going to be really hard to wrestle with. But maybe there's a way. Maybe there are ways to bring the body about, or perhaps breaking the lantern is the real goal here. So, I think Flint is aware of his problems here. He's like fall into his butt, like scooting backwards as this thing comes after him in this fast float, and he's gonna have to make a move here to start the fight. Let's try and vanquish this foe. Let's be strong. This is an enter the fray move. So, we are, when you enter combat, set the rank of each of our foes. So that's the first question, of course. How tough do I want these things to be? I did want them to be intimidating. So I'm definitely not going to set him at the like troublesome level of just like, it's a real pushover. The same thing I would have set that guy a few sessions ago. I forgot what we named him. The kind of socially unaware person with the knife that we would have just put as troublesome. This is definitely at least dangerous. I don't think I want to go too much higher than that for a couple reasons. One, I think these are relatively common foes here. Like it kind of should follow that rule of it's like the ninja rule. When there's a lot of them, they're weaker. Now, granted, I'm facing this one solitary, but still, this is supposed to be representative of like it's like if I were to find like an orc or something. Sure, not just some troublesome pesky little goblin, but nothing too far up there. And then also for meta reasons, of course, like I want to have at least some chance to get out of this. I don't want to end this session right away and be like, well, let's talk about life or something. So I think dangerous is a good level that kind of meets both those expectations of like the meta reasons, which really shouldn't be getting a lot of consideration, but it does fall in line with how I kind of envision like roughly how much of a problem each one of these individually is going to be. Nothing, not a pushover, but nothing that I have to just be like, oh god, there should be legends about every single one of these. They all have names, and you can find them in the Demonomicon. So I'm going to set this Dreamstalker as a dangerous foe. I guess I don't have any lines anymore, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go on to the... I'm going to temporarily use that bond track at the top as just the health bar for this foe, since I already have all of these lines taken up with other things that I'm trying to fulfill. So yeah, we're just gonna use the bond thing and just know that that's about that. Hey, what's up, Z? Welcome. So it's dangerous. We don't have a spot to make that, or to mark that rather. So because it's dangerous, it's gonna be 2 progress per harm, and it will inflict 2 harm every time I get hit by it. So here's the problem. The first time I get hit by 2 harm, since we said we're gonna use my spirit as health in this kind of world, I'm already gonna be at 0 and have to be like really having problems with every time I get hit. So this could be a really quick fight, even at only dangerous. It will actually be very dangerous. Now I am facing off against this foe. As opposed to, I'm not moving into position against an unaware foe, striking without warning, and I'm also not ambushed. We're both aware of each other, we're squaring off, we're going to make this a fight. So I get to roll my heart, which is good. I get to roll my best stat. Oh, that's right, I do have 5 momentum. It wouldn't have helped me on that miss below, but it may well help me in the fight. That's enough that I could actually get some use out of it. Alright, here we go. Let's make a heart move. Okay, weak hit. Not too bad. So on a weak hit, I get to choose one. I can either bolster my position by taking +2 momentum, or prepare to act and take initiative right now. Now, the best way to actually cause harm and do the damage to this Dreamstalker is by having the initiative. Otherwise, it's got me on its heels. On my heels, and I have to be in a more defensible position before I can really do much damage. At the same time, I'm thinking ahead on this, and sure, 5 momentum is a nice start. But if I could get that up to 7, I could be far more assured that I could do something that I could turn into a really nice, strong hit. My worry is that with only 5 right now, sure, I could have initiative right now, but I'm going to lose it, near immediately. Whereas I might be able to do something, I might be able to set myself up, use a secure advantage to build that momentum even higher, and use that to also get a strong hit, and then be able to really come in swinging. So I'm going to take the option of moving my momentum up by 2. If you're unfamiliar, momentum is basically a way that I can... It represents, the narrative and everything kind of starting to move my way. I'm making some amount of progress. I'm building to something. And so I envision this as, let's see, what would be a good way to... here's what I think it is. The momentum is that moment when Flint realizes what I said before, which is this thing doesn't seem to have a body, but that lantern, I bet that lantern is vital to its survival. And if we can break the lantern, it may well change this completely. And so that's the momentum, is that realization of as he's squaring off and waiting for it to come to it. Because remember, he's a brawler. He doesn't really use weapons. He just needs to wrestle with things and try and, at this point, wrestle the lantern out of its hands. It's that moment of realization. But in doing that, this thing is quicker than he realized, and it's on him before he can really be ready to just snatch the lantern. So right away, he's backing up and dodging these swipes of the he's probably not swiping the... Oh no, you know what he's doing. Okay, so there's the beam of the lantern itself shines ever brighter with this I guess the eyes glow red, so it should be this deep red flame that it's flameless, but a deep red light that matches the light of the eyes that gets brighter and brighter, and it's shining out. It's like a hooded lantern, so it's shining in this very straight kind of cylinder of light that's arcing across, and the light seems to be made of almost you can see these hands that are comprised of it that it's they'll grab you, and it's bony fingers that there's this inherent understanding that it don't get touched by that light. It's a bad light. Don't let your soul be what I'm a player is kind of running with the idea of is I see these things as they capture you, and your soul powers their lanterns, and then they're sustained by it, but that lantern is filled with other dream souls just like mine, and getting hit by that light, let's just make this canon. Those are the other souls of the captured that the only way they can ever escape is by like it's kind of like one in one out sort of thing. So they're all trying to grab you and pull your soul in so that they can then get out while they maybe have some kind of essence left to them. They've been trapped inside this. So anyway, with all of that said, all of that imagery and reason to not get hit by this light, let's try and not get hit by this light. So I think this is a face danger move more than anything else, because it's just about dodging this this light beam, making sure to not get even singed by it, hopefully. I don't think it's an immediate thing, like as soon as you get hit by it, it's just done. But it's still, it's very lethal. So let us face this danger. Unfortunately, the way, as I'm thinking about it immediately, like just dodging it would very much be speed, agility, and precision, which is my worst stat. So let me think. Can I clever my way through this real quick? Can I find a way to use some, like, at least deception, stealth, or trickery? Can I get this to at least be a shadow move? Somehow tricking it to, like, maybe, okay. Here's what I think. I think that Flint is wearing kind of like a cloak of his own. It's not like full on like hooded robe like this Dreamstalker is wearing, but he's got that. I can do just like he flings it off, like he realizes at the last second he's not gonna be able to react to like grab it in time. The thing's too fat. Ooh, that must have been a weird sound. I kind of scratched the microphone. Doesn't have time to do that, but if he can throw this cloak off quickly and just like kind of get it in the thing's way, throw it at the lantern to kind of just throw off this thing's vision. It's like throwing mud in somebody's eyes type of thing. To give him that moment to kind of just dodge out of the way by just using some kind of dirty trick sort of stuff. So we'll use some shadow on that to indeed try and cloak this lantern in a little bit of shadow with his own cloak. So anyway, we're cloaking with a cloak. It's like that's why it's named that. Let's see what we can do. I don't want to burn my momentum on this, but it is an option. I'd rather save it to really land a hit. That being said, if I don't get a strong hit, I'm going to need it to get momentum. Hey, but there we go. It's like there is a possibility to get a strong hit without having to burn reset. In fact, I didn't even need to do that with Shadow. I could have done that with my edge. Apparently, this thing is very thrown off. The challenge dice were surprisingly low, and just heartily was able to throw this thing off, get the strong hit. So in this game, that means I have initiative. It means now it's like so caught up in this cloak and floundering, and I think it flounders and like the lantern is sticking out from underneath my own cloak. So I have my moment to really go in while it's on its heels now and do some harm. Try and break this lantern. Moreover, when I face danger and get a strong hit, not only am I successful, but I get one more momentum. So really, the momentum truly is getting to be on my side. I am almost maxed out on that. So let's do a strike. I've got about as best of an opportunity as I'm ever going to get here. So I have initiative. I'm attacking in close quarters. I'm going to roll iron on this. I'm just going in and I'm trying to just utterly just break the glass of this lantern. And, God, given what we said about what's inside that lantern, I wonder when that happens, what that'll even look like. Like, what happens to all the trapped souls inside? Like, is that a good thing for them? Or is, like, they're... We'll have to see. Oh, and as always, anybody who has any kind of ideas on just, like, ways to take the story or just, like, strong kind of images you've had in your mind, just feel free to shout them out. I like using anything. I consider this all a collaborative process. Doesn't mean I'll necessarily use every idea, but go for it. It's always nice to get inspiration from whoever's around. So we're going to make an iron move, and... Again, hopefully I can do this without having to use my momentum, but here we go. Just a strong fist going into just try and knock the lantern out from its grasp. Well, it's non-existent grasp because again, it's just kind of a bodiless thing. Okay, a weak hit is still a hit. Now again, this is an opportunity. I could turn that in. I could use my momentum on this right now, turn that into a strong hit because the way it works is if 8 is higher, 8 will cancel out any of those challenge dice that are lower than it. And since both of them are, I could make this better, but I'd rather save that to like convert a miss. Because a weak hit, I'll still get to inflict my harm. I'll just lose initiative. Not the worst. So I'll still have done my 1 bit of harm to it, fill in 2 of those boxes because I am sadly not wielding a weapon, so I only deal 1 harm when I deal harm, not 2. Or, yes. That makes sense. I think those words worked. Okay, so technically that should be a fully filled in thing, but I'm not going to bother right now. Just pretend that's fully filled in and not just 1 tick, since it's all very temporary anyway. So I managed to bash into the lantern just a little bit, but I think it doesn't like knock it out of its hands, but there is like some kind of just, you hear it weaken the kind of whatever material is this kind of strange glass is weak, and you see the kind of like fractures forming. There's definitely progress made, little hairline cracks, but it holds on to it, and it's certainly not just like broken in one quick move. And let's see, we need to envision why I lose initiative. So I think what happens is as I hit it, it goes, because it's so weightless, it like spins all the way around with that hit. And so before I even realize it, that beam of light that I'm trying to avoid is coming back around from the other side. And I think what I'm going to do here is there is a way to try and deal some harm while on my heels like that. So I think even though I like am barely out of the way, I'm going to try and like knock it back the other direction. We're just going to keep ping-ponging it back and forth. But like while I'm trying to dodge, and trying to knock the lantern again back before the light can touch me. And so this is going to be a clash move because I'm like almost falling down as I do it. It's really, I haven't set my feet. I can't like firmly do a hit. Now the difference between strike and clash is, for one, clash is something you do when they have initiative. But 2, what you can get out of it is a little bit different. So on the move I did last time, strike, when I got a strong hit, I'd be able to inflict even more harm than usual. And in this case, I can either, like on a strong hit, I can either inflict any harm whatsoever or get a little bit more momentum. And in this case, I would definitely be going for the inflict more harm, or inflict harm, because my momentum is basically filled up anyway. And on this one also, if I only get a weak hit, I'll be able to inflict the harm, but I'm going to have to pay the price. So last time I was able to like just lose initiative, but nothing worse happened. So it's kind of a like, you can still do some damage, but you're in a worse position, so your options are just not as good. So here we go, as I just try and knock it back the other way before the light touches me. Trying to move more swiftly than these old bones are probably usually capable of moving. Or used to moving anyway. So let's see what happens. Okay, so it's that weak hit I talked about. Oh, so close. So close. So if that had been 1 higher or 1 lower on one of the challenge dice, actually, yeah, if it had been 1 lower on the challenge dice, that would have been a opportunity, a critical hit, basically. Sadly, it is only a weak hit, so I think it makes a lot of sense that the complication of this, the price I'd have to pay is like, sure, I managed to bat it the other way, but like I'd have to get at least somewhat singed by this lantern light. So I'm going to inflict my harm, but not only do I still not have initiative, but my hand, I think it grazes into the beam and almost starts like, because these hands are now pulling at me, it's like I'm stuck a little bit, and it's trying to pull my body into this light. So first things first, I need to endure some harm. because it's indeed damaged me, which unfortunately means my spirit is going to go down to 0. Yeah. With the red right hand. Doom, 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 doom. Yes, this hand of mine is burning red. It's certainly going to be. I think we can get out of this. We're doing okay. We're doing better than I thought. But unfortunately, yes, spirit is down to 0, and we need to make an endure stress move. Because again, we're doing this as a fill-in for as if this is my health. Actually, yeah, should I instead? Yeah, no, it's just endure stress. So I roll spirit or heart, whichever is higher. My spirit is now 0. My heart is still 3. So heart is definitely higher. My heart will go on. I probably shouldn't have said that when I'm this close to dying, but let's make a heart move, see what happens. Now, this could be the thing that gets me back initiative. I could just do so well on this that I'm just ready to just get in the fray and finish this off. Do ghosts have a heart? It's a kind of heart. It's a very wispy heart. Let's see. Okay. Ooh. Wow. If only, yeah, that one challenge die was just a little too high. It's... Ouch. Rolled a 10 on it. So even momentum can't save me there. I got a weak hit, which just means I press on. Nothing else happens. So I'm still being pulled in by these other hands that just want to trade their position. And by the way, I don't think it's like there's a bunch of hands on me, but only one is going to be able to trade its position for me. There's like this spiritual fight going on in the lantern where I imagine like some people are pulling, but other people are just like other souls are just like grasping at the souls that are grasping to try and pull them off. It's this cluster fuck inside there where everybody wants to be the one to make their escape. One soul in, one soul out. But they're pulling me in. I don't have the initiative because I'm just fighting against being drawn in, and just clearly starting to lose this battle with my spirit already being at 0. Like it's a process that's happening. So I think what I need to do now is I need to wrench myself free from this. I don't want to go in the lantern. So I'm going to make another iron move right now to basically it's a face danger where I'm just trying to pull as best I can to escape this draw, this tractor beam that I'm in, to go inside. Well, it's not a Death Star, but I guess it is a Death Lantern. So here we go. Iron face danger. Let's wrench ourselves free. No, it cannot go negative, but basically when it's already at 0, it's going to start hitting to my momentum instead. So it's still going to get worse for me, and eventually, like if I ever get a miss on enduring that, there's a chance that I'm just gonna be completely overwhelmed. Now, ordinarily, you'd roll on a kind of like table that could make you potentially like it's about like succumbing to despair or horror, which is not what's happening. I would roll on the face death table. I'd pretend as if this were physical damage in this sense. But anyway, yeah, it doesn't go below 0, but it does kind of get worse and worse as time goes on if you keep getting hit. And I think that it makes sense that if I can't pull myself free, that's a reasonable consequence of this. Is another just endure harm as I'm just getting more and more sucked into the lantern. So here we go. Face danger with iron. Just am I strong enough to pull my soul out of this? There we go. There's that strong hit without having to help it. So, strong hit will gain me back initiative. Oh, you won't be ruining anything. Well, welcome, genius. So, a strong hit means that I believe it's, again, I not only get what I want, but I gain more momentum. So now, I'm almost completely filled up on this. Let's pull it up to a +9. Really got to start considering using it now, but I wrench my... I think here's what happens. I wrench the lantern off, and it's so forceful that it's like, it's struggling to hold on to it. Like, whatever binds this dream stalker to the lantern, whatever forces keep it all as kind of this one form, are a little bit weakened by how much I pulled on that. My arm is free from it, and it's like just barely gonna be still in its grasp, and I need to take this opportunity to try and just like knock it down to the ground. I just want the ground to try and shatter this thing. So let's make a strike. The moment is now. In fact, you know what we might be able to do? This might be a time for a turn the tide. If I can, oh wait, no, that's for stealing the initiative. Never mind. I don't need to do that. Never mind. Again, my body is dead, but my spirit keeps fighting. Because I happen to be in this very particular place. This place where we're close to the dream realm, where when I lost consciousness, potentially because I was also holding onto this key, but when I lost consciousness here, I did not die, but moved over to the other side. The veil is just a little thin here. So here we go. Let's strike. It's another iron move. This time, if I need to do it, considering how high my momentum has gone, I'm probably going to use it if it can make it at all better. But again, maybe not. Maybe I need that for... Fuck it. Let's just roll. There we go. Don't even need it. Another strong hit. The dice are actually starting to have a little bit of momentum here. Strong hit. So clearly, I do indeed just smash this thing against the ground. It's not shattered yet. I could. I don't actually have to wait until this line is all the way filled up. I could try and end the fight now. I've got an okay chance of doing it, but if I can get one more in there, it'll probably be way safer. I'll show you how it works when we get there, but I just want to get the one more. Yeah. So smash this thing on the ground, and it's now just like desperately like diving to get this back, because this thing is its entire, well, I don't want to say livelihood because it's this weird dream state, but it just throws itself to the ground, clawing after to try and get the lantern back, as I'm just want to use my entire body weight to just like basically give it the people's elbow, basically, and just smash down on this lantern, try and just utterly shatter it and end this fight, hopefully. So it's going to be one more. I'm considering this a strike. Now, because of my brawler move... Oh, that's right. I don't actually quite have what I'm wanting here. Like, if I were doing a secure an advantage, I can do some cool stuff here. Like, maybe I can find a way to use that move. When I secure it, because I'm a brawler, when I secure an advantage with iron, which is what I'm doing, by engaging in close quarters brawling, such as hitting, tripping, or smashing, and score a hit, I may also inflict one harm. I guess it won't actually do it any better than just trying to do harm outright, so never mind. I won't try and cheese it completely. Oh, absolutely. Making the move... Well, technically I'm making the moves on an inanimate object, so just like real life. Let's make that move, see if we can get this to a point where the fight is basically over. One more iron move. Can I keep this strong hit train alive? I can't. It is a weak hit, and one that actually momentum can't make any better. Seduce the lantern. Yeah, I'll charm it next. Be like, hey there, little lantern. You want to light my fire? Or can I light your fire? I guess makes a little bit more sense. I'm not playing a bard. It's my go-to move is not just seducing whomever. So on a weak hit, unfortunately, I'm going to lose initiative, but fortunately, I could, like, I will inflict harm, but I'm going to lose initiative. The problem with this is, and I did this wrong in the past because I just wanted it so badly. In order to actually end the fight, I'm going to have to get a strong hit first. So I think I would indeed rather, like, I don't want to burn my momentum. I know I talked about it before, but considering how bad I am at delving these depths, I think I'm going to need it to avoid running into more of these things in the future. Like, I'm almost there on my own merits. Also, I guess I can't burn my momentum to make this better anyway, so it doesn't matter. Oh, yeah. Gotcha, now I see where you're going with that. So I'll inflict the harm. Boop, boop. We're almost there. But, okay, something goes wrong with this. And I think it makes sense. Like, you know, I talked about how I'm giving it, like, the people's elbow and falling onto the ground. Now that I'm on the ground with it, I think it, like, I certainly cracked the lantern more, and it's now, like, the glass, it's like, almost falling apart. Like, it's really clearly weakened, and it's sending this thing into a frenzy. I think it, like, since it was going for the lantern anyway, it's now just, like, on top of me, just, like, burning these, the red pinpricks that it had are just setting ablaze as it's, trying to, let's see, how would it, so it doesn't have this body. Are there, let's see if somebody can help me out with this. We're trying to think of another kind of attack that this thing could have. So as described, it's a lot like a ring wraith, but doesn't have any kind of body. It's just this kind of floating cloak that holds this dream lantern, usually, but it's all just kind of billowing clothes with these red glowing eyes. I'm trying to think, other than like shining the lantern on me, what's another way it could maybe attack me when it's like literally right on top of me? Does it have a secondary way to cause harm? Like, I almost see it like releasing something from its mouth, or like, or maybe this is the moment where it actually, like, it does have a form that it usually doesn't show, and it starts emerging. We talked about that before, like, that it could actually have some kind of body. Yeah, like, it's some way of, oh yeah, oh, you saying envelop, that's a great idea. What if instead of having a body, it starts just, like, strangling me with the cloak itself? Like, it's just wrapping me up and asphyxiating me. See, that's what I was saying about how, like, suggestions are really helpful. That's a great idea. So yeah, it's gonna try and just asphyxiate me by wrapping just taut against my face this cloak while it tries to then otherwise get the lantern back. So it's a move. I'm gonna have to avoid this. I think this is honestly, it's a face danger with iron to just try and it's a struggle. I'm basically just wrestling with clothing, like I do most days. So let's make that move and see what happens. Now, if I can turn this into a strong hit, we have that moment, like, we have our opportunity to end the fight. Either a natural strong hit or one I make out of momentum. Okay, we have a weak hit that I could totally turn into a strong hit with the, with momentum. The only other, I guess, yeah, it wasn't a secure an advantage. I should have done that. I honestly should have. I should have tried to think of a way where I could secure an advantage to do this, because then I could use my brawler move. Yeah, he choked on a cloak. The old cloak joke. It's the Tales of Heroes. So it's a weak hit, which means I believe it's that my, let's see. I succeed, but I face a troublesome cost. So I either am delayed, lose advantage, or face a new danger. Right. It's the classic one where one of my various meters is going to go down. Either, whoops, my rings are out of place. 1 second here. Oh, right. There's stuff I need to remember to fix about the way I have this set up. This is the way they're supposed to look. So I could either lose my momentum ring. I could go down by 1, which is definitely a tasty one to go for since it's so high. I could lose health, which is not great because that's at 0. I could lose spirit, which is not great because that's at 0. I can't really wrap my head around a way that I lose supply. And this is even speaking as somebody who has his head currently wrapped around. So I guess that's why I can't wrap my head around it. It's already too thoroughly wrapped. So the only one that like, it would make sense to me to lose my spirit, like to indeed be damaged by this. Except actually no, it doesn't, because I have success. It just costs me something. And if I have the success, I feel like I'm not getting asphyxiated here. I lose my supply of oxygen. I like it. That's using the old noodle. I'm not going to go with it, but I like it. I'm going to lose momentum. I just need to figure out, like, narratively, what's happening here. How do I get delayed, or why is it momentum that I'm losing? And it could just be, you know, a sign of how things are turning from my way. Like, it's not looking as good for me, since I'm in more of a struggle here. But I'd like something a little bit better than that. What's something that we can envision truly happening here in this scene that's indicative of this loss of momentum? That like a new danger or something that's oh, you know what it could be? So like we were watching all of this as I kind of like managed to turn over and like hurl this this cloak off of me so it's not covering my face. But in that moment, I'm like, we see the leg of my my leg, and so like the very fringes of my pants are getting just like that dangerously close to the beam of light from the lantern that's still on the ground, and you just see the like the hands just like starting to pull at the fabric, and I'm like just getting so close to being caught up in it. And so we see that in the momentum loss. Like I'm just barely not getting myself drawn into that again. Now I don't have the strong hit, so I can't just try and end the fight right here. But and I also don't have initiative as a result. I'm not ready to just try and strike it or anything. I could one more time try and I could try and do like a clash. I could do the like trying to damage while not having momentum or not having initiative. But there's also the turn the tide move. The once per fight, when you risk it all, you may steal initiative from your foe and make a move, not a progress. So I have to find a way that I risk it all. Now, if this fails, I suffer a dire outcome. Thankfully, I've got momentum on my side, so I'm not too worried about it failing. What I'm worried about is, as a player, let's think of a good way, like, what am I doing that's different? How is this that I'm risking it all to justify that I get this move? It could be... oh, you know what it could be? What if this time when I'm, like, punching it, I punch directly at, like, into the beam? Like, trying to just... like hit the where it comes out just with my fist and break that hole, just like the ring, which I imagine like we can see has got like all these runes and stuff all over it. Just break that right above. Yeah, I mean, I thought of that sort of thing. I don't know how that's risking myself more, so it didn't feel like I'm risking it all. But this move to do the like so let's make this more cinematic. So I see it like this. The lantern's been really damaged up until this point, right? I feel like with the cracks, they're starting to glow and everything. Like, it's starting to swell up almost like a bomb that's ready to go. It's just, like, powering up. Because I'm envisioning this as, it's like the end of Independence Day. With the, like, smile, you alien assholes! And it just, like, blocks up the beam. Spoilers if you have not seen the 1994 movie Independence Day. I feel like you've had 25 years, and even I, as spoiler conscious as I am gonna put that one to bed and say it's too late. But yeah, so he smile, you alien assholes, the runic ring around this, just bringing his hand straight through the beam, or maybe yeah, it's. Maybe the reason it's not just immediately a bad idea is he's, like, doing it down to, like, at an angle to hit the runes. So, like, if he screws it up, yeah, he's going to go straight into the beam and, like, hit the hole. But if he does it just right, he could, like, just smash the very outside of the ring. So say it's like that. It's not quite the Independence Day move, but it's a similar idea. So he's gonna risk it all because like manages to see like, oh wait a minute, maybe this is the part I need to break. It's not the glass itself. It's these magical bindings on it all. Welcome, welcome. We are in a fight for the very life of our spirit right now. We got caught by a dream stalker, and we're gonna try and end the fight right here. Well, hopefully right here. We're turning the tide. So I am making a strike move on this. I get to add +1, and I take +1 momentum on a hit, any kind of hit, strong or otherwise. So making an iron move with a +1. I've got the momentum on my side just in case. Let's do this. Let's smash this baby. Okay. I still get a hit. I don't get that strong hit that I need, and I can't momentum my way out of this to make it I can't make it a full strong hit. So unfortunately, I'm still not ready to end the fight. But we need to, like, which is an official move I can make. But I still do the I get my hit, so I inflict my harm, I lose initiative again, and I take +1 momentum on the hit, so like I get this back to where it should be. But there's just something else missing before I can end this fight. There's something that I just haven't done. Now, when we finally get that chance, I've only got a 1 in 100 chance of the fight not just ending. So when we can do it, or with it not ending like as best as possible, I have done like all the work. But there's just that one little piece missing. So let's see. I keep imagining like the one thing we haven't done yet, which is like we gotta shine the light on the cloak, right? Now, I don't have the position to do that, but we could walk out of this with a spirit, with a dream lantern, with the souls of all sorts of other dreamers, instead of breaking it. And I kind of like the narrative on that more. So I just need to get that strong hit so we can have this just lantern in the dark. Oh, I want it so badly. So I don't have initiative. What's it doing now? Because I clipped this thing. It didn't suck me in, but it didn't just like break this whole lantern apart. But I think it's clearly managed at this point to grab it back. And I think it's like last time. It's gonna sweep across with another kind of arcing cut of this light that just tries to pull your spirit inside. And so again, I'm gonna have to face danger, but like in a dodgy kind of way, which I'm not good at. And I already threw my cloak to try and be more shadowy with this, find my way out of it while being kind of a tricksy guy. Can anybody think of any other way that I can be tricky with this so I can justify using shadow to like bluff it or anything like that? So I just punched it. Nothing immediately comes to mind that is not just complete bullshit, so I think I'm just going to have to roll that edge and hope for the best. Who knows? It can happen, even with bad stats. Now, it did not, however, as I said, I've been kind of waiting to burn my momentum when it could turn a miss into a strong hit, and that's what I could do right now. I think we got to go for this. I'm like trying to dodge. And because I've just built up so much momentum by just battering on this lantern and like knowing what I got to do, so I burn this, which means it goes back to my reset value, which as you see down below is a +2. So all of this buildup that I've done comes out in this one moment where I think I like run towards it. And I pull like a crazy Ivan. And while it's turning, I'm just running towards this lantern to try and just quickly turn it around. So I get my strong hit, which actually does mean that I believe it's that I get +1 momentum, I think is what happens. Yes. So I get what I want, which is to not be hit by this beam. I get +1 momentum for the strong hit. And then, because I have my strong hit, I can finally make my end the fight move. And it's just as I described it. We are going to shine this light directly on the Dreamstalker. Find out how it likes a taste of its own medicine. And again, there is a only 1 in 100 chance that this goes wrong. So let's see it go wrong, right? Let's see the dice hate me. Incidentally, if this goes wrong, it goes wrong in the worst way possible. It'll be a critical failure of the worst kind. It's going to it's going to be super wrong. Well, in a way that we'll have to think of something creative. So here we go. Let's not have that happen. Let us end the fight. The way this works is we're going to make a D1, or we're going to make a 2D10 roll. Basically, we're rolling those challenge dice, as you see, and instead of having an action die that we compare it to, we're going to compare it to how many filled-in boxes do we have. And again, those are completely filled in, not just ticked like that. I just was being lazy with it. Now, since I have all 10 filled in, the only way that this will go wrong is if I roll double 10s. Because then I didn't beat either of the dice. So here we go. I guess technically I could get only a weak hit if one of them is a 10. There's a 1 in 10 chance that I get a weak hit. Close. One of them was a 9, but 9 and 3 are both lower than 10, and so we get a strong hit on this. The light turns on this this Dreamstalker. It clearly, like, all of the hands just start pulling its cloak inside. It gets wrapped up as it's never faced this sort of thing before. It's like starts crumpling in a jittery motion and just pulled inside with this horrific. It's like the it's like the same kind of scream we hear from the ring wraiths. It's just this. As I feel like all sorts of spirits just start flooding out from this light, because sure, one soul is it's a 1-for-1 on that, but I think when the master goes in, there's probably a lot more of them that get to escape. God, I can't even imagine what's going on in there. It's probably just this burly brawl. It's the end of every Disney villain where like we're finally it's the end of Scar, where like all the hyenas are just on top of him. Spoilers for The Lion King. If you have not seen that 1994 movie, you've had 25 years to do it. Wait, Lion King is 1994, right? Please let me just be continually spoiling 1994 movies tonight. I just want this to be a thing. Please. I know Independence Day was. Let's see. I'm sorry, I gotta find this out before I can continue with the game. It is... No, not the 2019 one. Yes, 1994. Sweet. Okay. June 24th, 1994. So, I'm sorry, but you've had 25 years to see The Lion King. You should know what happens to Scar in the end. So it basically happens to this Dreamstalker. So on a strong hit, this foe is no longer in the fight. They are killed. Out of action. Flee or surrender as appropriate to the situation and my intent. Oh, we are very clear what happens here. Oh yeah, that's true. We were just talking about 1994 as a good year. Yeah, this has been a week for 1994. We were just talking about Donkey Kong Country. It was a good year. It was a very good year. That is the first time that I've ever, I think, just done a fight all the way through the right way, I think. Like, actually waited to get that strong hit to end the fight. I think that's the first time that I've actually learned the rules well enough to do it. So we vanquish the foe. Now, unfortunately, in this game, the system doesn't give a crap about you fighting. All that experience right there, you don't get that from beating foes. You know what I get from beating that foe? I'm still alive, and my story continues. The game only cares about you fulfilling those vows, which I'm working on. I'm working on it. But, and technically not all of those are actually vows. They're all in that spot on my character sheet. If I fulfill vows, I get experience. When I beat fights, I stay alive. So, sadly, nothing really happens other than my journey is going to continue as I'm... But, I guess the one other thing that happens, I have this lantern here. And we need to get to a safe place where I can examine this. So I'm going to continue delving the depths here and try and find a new spot. Yeah, it's finding the body is the priority. However, because it's indeed a like pretty hardy task that we have there that we've barely made progress on. In fact, we've made no progress on. It's going to take a while. Each milestone that we get is only going to fill in one of those boxes. And it's going to work the same way as ending the fight does in terms of, like, we just roll dice and compare to how many boxes we have filled in. So, like, technically, I could do it with as few as 2 boxes filled in, and there's a 1 in 100 chance that I could still get a strong hit on it. 1 in 10 chance that I could still get a weak hit. But the more you progress narratively, the better your odds are of having a good outcome from all of that. And if you get a complete miss, then it's really bad, and it kind of resets your progress, and you don't want to do it. It's always a gamble. But yes, working on getting the body. It's priority 1. And the way I'm doing that is by trying to find the route to the fortune teller. The fortune teller who lives in these dream realms is going to hopefully be able to tell me all about how I can do this, because I don't know. No, I sadly don't have the bot running. And even if I did, I don't have that stuff active during this one. We can all dream down here. So let's delve the depths. I did describe this as a hooded lantern. So I think I'm going to bring down the hood to cut off this beam for a couple of reasons. One, unless I'm using the lantern, I don't want it to accidentally maybe touch me and suck me into it. It would really suck to die by inanimate object that I'm carrying. I know we talked about being choked by the cloak, but just like accidentally crossing the beam of a lantern and just that being the way my character goes out, it's not a great ending. So we're going to close that up until I'm ready for it, which will allow me to proceed with Shadow again, because I think we can still hear, in the Dream Realm, there are Dream Stalkers and stuff everywhere. You gotta be... There are predators in the dark that are always trying to feast on your spirit energy. It's why the physical realm always is trying to drag you into sleep, as we've described before. It's so that the predators can feast. They live off of it. You've had worse deaths than that? Oh man, you'll have to tell me of your eternal years as in your cyclical life. So we're going to make a shadow move, and we're going to try and just sneak our way through here, after having put my cloak back on, sticking to the shadows, trying to make my way through the dream realms to get to this oracle. So, rolling shadow. Let's see what happens. Now, we have a miss, and my momentum, I had to use it all. I can't do anything about that now. However, miss does not necessarily mean that we have another encounter with somebody. In fact, we're going to roll some dice and find out what it means. It means that we face a danger of some kind. And this D100 I'm about to roll is going to tell us what kind of danger do we face. 32. I believe that is low enough that it's going to be... Yes, it's going to be what it says on my domain card. So, because we're in this corrupted with black magic kind of mine, some of the dangers we face are just based on, like, 30% of the dangers are things that have to do with it being corrupted and black magic-y. An additional 15% of the dangers have to do with the fact that it's a mine. So in this case, we got cave-in, which is a little bit weird because since we're in this spirit realm. But we'll find a way, or dream realm, we'll have to find a way to make that work. But yeah, while I'm moving about and like sticking to the shadows and like things are passing by, I feel like I like lean onto a or I guess yeah, it's not a spirit realm. We did describe it as it's like the Upside Down. Like there still is a physicality to this place. Even my body has a physicality. So yeah, there could still be a cave-in, and that's still a danger. So like I managed to lean on a so I guess this cave-in could even have also happens in the real world. And it's like, it's triggered by my dream, like, spirit, but it's, yeah, it's just kind of, it's like a ghost causes a cave-in. I managed to lean on one of the supports that's keeping this, Actually, no, we described before how I think this is deep enough in the mine that it's basically no longer even a mine. It's a, it's more just a raw cave. Let me see if there's, if cave is another one of the sites. I guess cavern is. And it would be the same thing. Okay, cool. Yeah, 32 is still cave-in and cavern. I have delved to. We've gone quite deep in the previous sessions. Yeah, depth happens as an unfortunate result. So yeah, it's not leaning on a support anymore because this is not where it's like man-made anymore. It's just raw caverns. But yeah, something happens. How do we trigger the cave-in? Maybe it's just that like this is deep enough. Like the earth is still just shifting, especially because of the magic to this place. Yeah, let's just go with that. We're like, it's not anything I do necessarily. I just find myself in an area where the earth is just moving and like it cracks above me and starts falling down. And I gotta get out of the way. It's a classic just face danger move. Face danger is kind of the catch-all, like you're doing something to avoid a challenge. Like there's a problem and you gotta avoid it. You need to face the danger. You can do it in a number of different ways. There's ways to face danger with every one of those stats. But this is a very classic, like, it's like a reflex save in D&D. I face danger with my edge to avoid the falling rocks. I don't want the rocks fall, everyone dies. I'd rather rocks fall, everyone dies to the lantern killing me. But, oh, gotcha. So that's a shame, Introverted, but yeah, check it out. The VOD will be on YouTube. Hopefully by tomorrow night. Alright, not my best move, but it makes the most sense. We will, oh, unless... No, okay, I'm gonna cheese this to make it iron instead. So it's going to be this, it's like you can hear the cave-in starting, the earth starting to crack above. What if I could... No. All right, I'm going to put this to a quick little poll of people here. Do you think it's at all reasonable for me to try and be strong enough to just, like, support the ceiling before it cracks? Or, reasonably, are rocks way too heavy for that? And so it's just entirely unreasonable to try and iron my way through by holding the cave from caving in. I'm not Paul Bunyan or, like, some... Yeah, that's stupid. Never mind. Let's just do an edge move. Yeah, Rock's heavy, Flint weak. Exactly. I mean, he's not weak, but he is only human. Let's edge and hope that it goes okay. That's the problem. We don't really have much in the way of edge, and as a result, we got another miss. And... yeah... It obviously makes sense that we take harm on that. Like, we did not get out of the way in time. We have indeed been hit by these rocks. So I'm going to have to endure harm. Which, again, we're using my spirit as that actual track, but it doesn't really matter. Both of them are at 0. I think it makes sense it would be 2 harm. Like, again, rocks are heavy. It's a lot of damage to be hit by a cave-in. Now, because I don't have any spirit to take from, it's going to affect my momentum instead. So this is... What did I accidentally move? There we go. There's the ring. It hits my momentum instead, which is down to a +1. And I need to make my... Like, how well do I take it kind of roll. So it's an endure stress... As if it's an endure harm. I guess I really should be doing it as endure harm. It's just using a different meter here. So I roll spirit or iron, whichever one is higher. No, it really is like the reason why it's spirit instead of heart is because it's not physical. It really is just at my essence. So it's spirit or heart, whichever is higher. Which, now granted, I have a great bias towards saying that because my heart is higher than my iron. But shh, don't tell anyone. Totally, totally not compromised. Okay, we get a weak hit, which again just means nothing more happens. If we had managed to get a strong hit, we could have turned that back into something. We could have gotten a momentum back, or if we'd been a little bit more spiritful, like there's a way to get some spirit back as a result of that, but it didn't happen anyway. We didn't get our strong hit, so we press on. We managed to pry ourselves out from the rocks, like we're kind of like knocked down to the ground, and like it hurts, but we're not just like utterly trapped underneath them. Managed to wriggle our way free after the fact, but like, you know, some rocks hit our head and everything. Like, it fucking hurt. It's starting to get not so great around here. And in fact, if this keeps going down, if I keep getting damage and my momentum gets lower and lower and starts going down that track, it's going to start just canceling out more and more types of dice. Like if it gets into the negatives, it's going to make it more and more likely that I just die, or, you know, my spirit just dissipates. But we faced our danger. We sadly have not made progress because we were not successful in our delving. I sure would like to, I guess I could make camp here or something. I can try and recover some of this stuff because it's really dangerous to go on with everything so low right now. I could try and just like rest and meditate for a bit. Yeah, I kind of see it as like, so here's what happens. The rocks, while very painful when they fall on you, they also, it's like a protective cocoon. You don't have to worry about things getting at you when there's all the rocks around. So like Flint, he takes to the rocks, given his name. Rocks are home to Flint. He, instead of digging his way out, actually kind of nestles himself in a little bit to just have this safe spot where he can just relax and breathe and allow his spirit to kind of to strengthen a little bit. Tend to himself, hopefully. So we're actually going to make camp move underneath a pile of rubble. It's the strangest campsite ever, but it's safe in a hostile environment. So we're going to roll our plus supply, which is so +3. So I'm going to tell it to roll heart because it's the same thing, and we'll see what happens. There we go. There's the strong hit I was hoping for. Much better. So, on a strong hit, I get to choose 2 of these things. Recuperate, which is take 1 health from me and any of my companions. Partake, which is suffer 1 supply and take another health. Which in this case, because again I'm using spirit as health, I'd add it to my spirit. I'm gonna do it as a 1-for-1 trade. I could relax, which is take +1. Well, actually, no, because you know what? I won't do that because it just doesn't make sense. I'm not like sitting there eating food and everything. As we described it, that's not what's healing me. It's the ability to kind of like meditate and like calm my spirit to like get it regrounded in this dream reality. In fact, I probably fall into a little bit of a dream while meditating, which since I'm already there, like that trance, it has a healing factor. The dream is like it rebuilds the form because this is a land of dreams. So yeah, I get to choose 2 of these. I could relax and take +1 spirit, which is definitely one of the ideas. It's very much what I've been describing, so that's certainly going to be one of mine. Let me do that now. So relax, I breathe. Now here's where I'm a little bit unsure. I could take +1 momentum by focusing, which again is a lot like the relaxing and meditating I was talking about. I could also prepare, which is when I break camp, add +1 if I undertake a journey, which in this environment, I would say would also apply to delving the depths. It's basically undertaking a journey, but when I'm in like a site like this, you know, when I'm dungeon delving, it's the same basic thing. I would say the +1 applies here, and I think that creator Sean Tompkin would probably agree. The question is if I want that or the momentum. I sure would like to finally get... I think I want to take the preparation. The momentum, I would love it. I want to get that build up, but at the same time, I really need this next time to like, I need to do better as I delve the depths. I need every +1 I can get. So that's what I'm going to do. I rest, I relax my spirit a little bit, spending hours just buried in this rubble, just focusing, trying to not pay attention to that, and just focus on the fact that it's shelter, and it's keeping me safe. And my preparations, I think, are studying the lantern, as I talked about, getting an idea for what this thing is like. So I want to actually use an oracle right now, which is a random generator in this game. Let's learn something about this. Before I set out, let's do a gather information with my sighted quality. So when I gather information to identify or detect mystic forces, I get to add +1 and take +1 momentum on a hit. So I'm sitting here, and if you're just here for the first time, you should know that this character, Flint Ingram, he's blind. He was blinded, but has a kind of mystic sight that he gained when these iron towers in the distance came online and started glowing. They started glowing, and he gained this kind of second sight that he now sees through. And so he uses that to kind of see through the veil at all sorts of magic stuff. And that's what he's doing right now while looking at this magic soul lantern. And so yeah, it's going to be a gather information, which is wits, but with a +1 because of my capability. Let's see what happens. Oof. It is still a miss. The +1 did not help me. I would have to have quite the momentum to have helped myself there, which I do not. So unfortunately, on a miss, my investigation unearths a dire threat or reveals an unwelcome truth that undermines my quest. I pay the price. Now, this is not one where I think the price that I pay is like that, oh, and then I get in the beam and I hurt myself. It's not that. But I gotta learn something bad about this lantern. We're gonna use some oracles to figure that out. Now, one obvious thing is that now this is the moment where Flint truly learns that about the other souls that are inside, that like when he uses this, he's using the other trapped beings inside. Well, no, I used the momentum. I didn't lose it. I specifically burned it for a purpose. Why does Flint have such bad luck? Because I roll for him. But yeah, we need to learn something bad about this lantern, potentially on top of that. How do we complicate that even more? I'm going to roll. This may not get me something that's relevant, but there is a plot twist table I'm going to roll on to see if I can get something in here that, like, that might be relevant. If this does not, I might roll the action and there's a couple of oracles I'm going to try something on to see what will give inspiration. But I'm going to start with plot twist. Two seemingly unrelated situations are shown to be connected. So, plot twist. My extreme vow is all about how my son is alive. Like, for the background on this character, which I talked about in session 1, my son one day just disappeared. I have no idea where he is. Not at all. But I'm convinced he's out there somewhere and alive. Like, he exists. I have no reason to think that other than just my raw faith. But, what if, exactly, you see where I'm going with this, his soul is in the lantern. And as a result, I probably have to, like, face that just hit to my psyche of just, oh my god, my son is inside here. Which makes me want to hit a milestone, but I did get a miss. It's a bad thing. but it makes sense in the narrative, and this is a narrative first game. So I will get my very first tick of progress on my son is still alive. I've learned something about where I can find him. And maybe I don't know for certain, but like, I see something for a moment while I'm studying this lantern. There's a flicker as like my eyes are shifting inside and looking at the magical essences. And there's something that just seems so familiar. There's an energy that just, it feels like my son. It's a feeling that washes over me. And I'm just become horrified and convinced that he's trapped inside here. And that the only way to get him out, like, the only way that things come out of here that I know of is to trap something else inside. It's a one in, one out policy, and it won't necessarily be him. So I'd have to get him out by just damning soul after soul after soul, and like, how long can I keep doing that to save my son? But of course, it's a son. Like, as a parent, how do you not do that? Like, you'll commit, like, it's the question, like, will you commit genocide on the hope that you'll recover your son's soul? And so that's gonna be a hit to my spirit, but it's gonna be some progress on my finding him. So let me finally make my first little bit of progress on that. Now, because this is such a long-term goal, this is not a fully filled-in box. An asterisk is a fully filled-in box. That is 2 ticks. So I'm halfway to completing 1 box of my progress all the way through there. But, okay. How much damage do you guys feel that should be to spirit? Which I know I was just regaining. It's a shame. But what kind of a hit to spirit would that be? To learn that sort of thing. Is that a 1, a 2, or is that strong enough that that's full on, like, that is 3, just the amount of shock and despair that could do, which, much as I love being the advocate for bad things for my character, 3 would be, like, really, like, that is horrendously shocking and horrifying. But then again, we are talking about the possibility of committing genocide to save a son, so I can kind of see it, just if that's the horror that sets in. I think I'm going to ask the Oracle on this. We're going to randomly decide how much despair is it to learn this thing, and then I'll have to resist it. So I'm just going to roll a d6, or a d3, really. And we're going to see 1, 2, or 3 points to my spirit. What do I get hit for? Thanks, game. This is, of course it is. Of course I rolled the maximum amount. This is utterly horrifying knowledge to Flint. His spirit goes down by 3. He doesn't have that much, so he's going to suffer 2 momentum for what he's missing. Utterly horrifying what he realizes he's going to have to do in order to get his son back. So, this goes down by 1. This goes down by 2. I really gotta turn things around. Things are looking bad right now. So now that my momentum is in the negative, what this means is if I roll a 1 on my action die from now on, it's going to cancel it out. Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying. It's gonna take a sacrifice, and probably a lot of them, because it's gonna have to be the chance that my son is the one who gets out. But with that realization hitting his eyes as they kind of like they droop, and he looks up from the lantern and realizes like a couple of things. One, he has to protect this lantern with his life. It has suddenly become the most important thing ever. It's the only connection he has to his son left in the world. But he also realizes what it's going to take to get him out. At least right now. Though I, as a player, had this other idea. I want to ask the Oracle something. Is there a lock on this lantern? Because the other special magic item that we found last session that I like died for, basically. I did almost break it. That's the other horror, is realizing how close he came to just potentially just annihilating his son's soul. because maybe that's what would have happened. We last time found the skeleton key. This key that has this emerald beset in it that we learned by studying it magically that it can unlock anything. But there's always something bad on the other side of what you unlock. So the question is, it can unlock any keyhole. Is there a lock on this lantern that holds it closed? Because if there is, maybe someday, I'm not saying I should do this right now, but maybe someday we unlock the lantern, spill everything out, and I can easily see why that would be something bad, but it may be worth it if it means getting to my son. Or getting him out. Or we may wind up having to Inception this, where like, so we're in reality, we go one layer deeper to go into the dream world, we'll go one layer deeper than that and go into the lantern world, and then who knows what's underneath that is just purgatory or whatever. Whatever it was, I forget what they called it in Inception. So I'm gonna roll. What kind of percent chance do we think it might be that that a lantern has a lock on it? It is a special lantern, but yeah, what do we think? How likely is that there's just that there is a lock on this thing? Like, is this like a 50-50 chance, a 1 in 4 kind of chance? I think it's unlikely, personally. Yeah, it's true. I'm going to put this as a 1 in 4 chance. Certainly possible, but unless I roll a 1 on this D4 that I'm about to roll, there's no lock on it. Like, there's no clear way at all to just open it up other than smashing it. So let's see. But I did roll that 1 on a D4. So he's looking at it. There is a lock, and that temptation is there. He's like looking back and forth at lantern and key, and he knows it could be that simple, and the key wants him to use it. The key wants to be used. We still need to endure the stress. While he's like looking over this, and it's all hitting him. Let's see how well that goes, because I didn't finish up that full effect of having been hit by that. The dice actually, they went for the interesting result. Oh man, I wonder how, like, the only reason I don't want to open it right now. See, here's where I have a problem. As a player, I don't want to open it right now because we're already starting to chase, like, we got a lot of things going on. We're not in a good position, and like I have a lot of irons in the fire already. I want to finish one of the stuff that we already have. I don't want to start up a whole new thing. And granted, it wouldn't be a new thing. It would be pursuing my son is still alive, but that thing is so far out there that at the same time, all we would have to do is come up with a reason why, like, yeah, I feel like it's something I got to be in a better position first. I'm like on the verge of death right now, so I'm not well enough to do it. But it's definitely in my mind as something that I will be doing. So here we go with Endure Stress. I roll my heart. Let's see how well my heart can go on, knowing the possible genocide I'll have to commit. Hey! Strong hit! That's good. So, unfortunately, my spirit is not greater than 0, so I can't just suffer 1 more momentum in exchange for 1 spirit. But that being said, that may not be the worst thing, because my spirit is at -1, so instead I embrace the darkness and take +1 momentum. That actually makes a lot of sense for this. So that as we were talking about, part of this despair is realizing what he's going to have to do. But the darkness hits him, which is, he is my only son, and I will slaughter everyone for him. As his just heart embrace it, like, with a surety. A certainty. Let's use proper words here. There's this certainty that hits him that's like, it's not in question. I have that inside me. if it will bring him back. It feels bad to say this because I, as a player, don't have a name for my son yet. Let me, there's a random table I can roll on. It feels so weird to be like, I'll kill anyone for, what's his name? Let's find out his name right now. It feels really important. In the rulebook, there's a random, generator for names. I'm just gonna do that. Oh, in fact, I think I have that. Yeah, we're gonna... Oh, you know what? I never made that in... I've got a lot of the oracles kind of in my dice roller thing that I'm doing, but I never brought in the name generator. So Ironlander names. Let's find out with a D100. See, that's the question. This could turn into the type of thing where it's like the real quest is not just about... Because it's I will find him and return him home. Getting him back, like finding him may only be the beginning. It may be about getting him to want to come home with me. Who knows how this story continues. And this is what I like about this game is I wrote that vow having absolutely no idea where it's going to go. I just figured we'll find out together. And those are the types of questions that this game will be answering. Will he want to come back to life? Will he want to come with me if he knows about that? And we don't know what it's like from the other side. How much he's aware. Presumably they're aware of some amount because they know how to like reach out and try and grab other souls. This game never fails to get me just utterly fascinated in what's going to happen next in this story. I love Ironsworn so much. I've not mentioned it yet this stream, but this is a fully freely available RPG at ironswornrpg.com. I put zero planning into these sessions, but it pushes you to these compelling results. I love it so much. Don't think I haven't had that thought, Wick. The trade your soul for his. I have had that thought just going through my mind this whole time. The like Hercules kind of trade. 49. And that someday we may be able to find the person who can like control that kind of bargain. Let's see. Pemba. Interesting. Actually, there's two tables. It's either Pemba or Mena. Personally, I'm just more of a fan of I like Mena more than Pemba. I don't know. It just personal tastes. I just like that name more. Mena. Or perhaps Mena. Either way. Actually, my son probably has a preference on how it's pronounced. It's not just I don't know, either way. Just Mena. And then the doors open. Gotcha. Mena. Do 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 do. Yeah. I'll give you that one, Draco. Mena. Do 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 do. Okay. So let's finally crawl out from this rubble. So we made camp, and we made things better, and then we made things worse, and we learned some things, and then we have this temptation. And I think he, like, stows the key into his pockets knowing, like, it's a bad idea. You do not do this right now. You need to wait for a better opportunity. This is not, don't bring your, even if it could bring him back, do you really want to bring your son into this darkness? This place that you're in right now, this foul and corrupted place. Also, who knows if you just be damning him to also be this wandering spirit in the dream world. Like, it may not be that much better. Maybe you have to wait until you're alive. In any case, it's time for us to continue this journey into the shadow. Now, because of my preparations, I get a +1 on this roll, as we determined. I think it would if I were able to bring it with me. I think it has the chance to. We already described how the key crossed over. I like this idea of like having the ability to, if you do it just right, there are certain types of like more magical items can cross the veil just like people can. And so I think it would be like a chance, or potentially something that I might be able to like learn how to ensure will happen through some kind of ritual or something like that. When I talk to the fortune teller, maybe we'll find out together. Because he definitely wouldn't put that up to chance. So let's set out. We're going to continue sneaking our way through here to find out where we are next. So get a +1 on my shadow roll. There we go. A strong hit with a... actually, and it was kind of a close one. I rolled pretty high on those challenge dice, but strong hit on Delving the Depths is what I want to see. We're definitely going to hit another milestone here. Let me pull it up. So when you have a strong hit, you delve deeper, you mark progress, and I find an opportunity. So there's a few things we're gonna have to do. One, we're gonna have to find out, like, where am I when I reach this milestone? We're gonna figure that out, and what is this opportunity? But first things first, let's mark the route. Let's fill in one more box on that route to the fortune teller. Real quick. Opening that up. I always have to kind of go through and find the stuff. I'm starting to get enough progress that, like, it's at least conceivable that I could try and end my journey. Because I'm halfway to fully complete. And it's not like I have to actually fill up every single box. It's just the more I do, the more likely it's good when I get there. You know, have we seen enough on screen to justify reaching the fortune teller? And I don't think the answer to that is yes. But let's find out what kind of opportunity this is. And then but before we do that, let's find out what kind of place I'm in so that we can make sense of what kind of opportunity would make sense. So we are going to roll on the features. So we're going to roll a D100 here, and we're going to see what kind of feature do we find ourselves in now. What's this new sort of place when we cut to this next scene of where Flint is. God, I meant to grab my water before I did this. I've been so thirsty this entire time, but, like, I didn't want to get up and get it. I'm like, I'm almost done. I can just last at this point, but I am so parched right now. A 43. Oh, right. I want to replace that domain. We're not in the mine anymore. I don't have a quick way to replace that, but ignore that. It's not a mine. We're in a cavern, as we discussed. And in a cavern, a 43 means cramped cave or twisting passages. So it's still pretty standard. We're still just finding our way into spots where, like, it's just hard to find your way. We're constantly ducking behind rocky outcroppings so that other dream stalkers can pass. We're just always hearing their wails and, like, the searching of their lights. So I'm just going from like hiding behind stalagmites and, like, kind of inching my way around, going from place to place. There's probably, like, we see a spot where, like, I go off an overhang and, like, just, like, hold on while it passes by. And that's pretty cool. I do like that emote. Nicely done. I think let's see what kind of opportunity I find while I'm, like, hanging off of this ledge and the lantern is, like, tied to my belt, so it's just, like, hanging around. A dream stalker is moving past me, and I find an opportunity, as we determined. And what kind of opportunity is it? So I need to roll another D100 roll. Or I can just envision something. But I always like just rolling on random tables. I don't have anything in particular right now. Like, I know I see the scene, but I don't have an idea of, like, what exactly is it. So the opportunity is 37. An aspect of the history or nature of this place is revealed. And so then I get to either gain insight or prepare, which would give me 1 momentum, or I can make another move right now and something that leverages this opportunity. I get a +1 to do it, and I'll get a +1 momentum on a hit. So it's kind of like either definitely get momentum or maybe get momentum, depending on what you do. So we need to learn about the history of this place, and we might need some more oracles for that, because I want to know I'm gonna roll on the theme table. Tool. Okay. And for action, I've got threaten. So it's like a threatening tool of some sort relates to the history here of like what corrupted this place. And threatening tool makes me think of like it's some kind of weapon. That's basically what a threatening tool is. So there's somewhere in these depths, like maybe I see some like scrawlings on the rock, like old hieroglyphics type of thing, where there's like a story. It's probably not where I'm hanging because it wouldn't make a lot of sense for somebody to carve that in there. But after I pull myself back up and like move into like around a corner, I find this wall where there is just this large series of just like pictoforms and hieroglyphs that that depict kind of the story of this place. And you know what? I think I want to go for the not sure thing. Let's try and do a gather information on this, and with the second sight, because I feel like these are there's a magic to these. They're like runes and stuff as well. And I feel like the sighted could help me here to kind of put together some of the pieces and find out like which are the more significant ones will just help me assemble the story. So like it's unclear exactly what's going on here, but I know it involves a weapon of some sort in these depths that's maybe the source of the corruption. And if I can interpret this, I can find out more details about like what it is and what really happened in this place. So as we're running low on time, this may be one of the last things that that happens. Depends how quickly I go. So we're going to make our gather information with the second sight to study these glyphs and find out the history of this place. We actually get a +2 on this because we get +1 from the opportunity and +1 from my aspect. So my wits will actually be relatively good now. It's as if they're a +3. So let's see what we can do. Can we study this appropriately? Yes, we can. Strong hit. Ooh, and we actually needed both of those pluses. That just barely was a strong hit. Needed everything that we got there. So strong hit on the gather information. We're going to get that information. We're going to find out the story, which I need to put together. This may be something that I'll need time to fully think out. But, yeah, we discover something specific and helpful. The path you must follow or action you must take to make progress is made clear. So importantly, you know, the story behind this place is made clear. We get +2 momentum from the gather information. We get +1 momentum from the opportunity, which means we get our momentum actually back up to 3. Something reasonable again. Bloop, bloop, bloop. There we are. A little bit of risk, wound up paying off. So what do you find out here about this weapon? What kind is it? What sort of something foul, like something foul and something ancient. So I feel like it should be relatively simple. Because whatever's been here, I think has been here for like far longer, like just generations and generations and generations, like possibly predating what we think of as humanity now. Because in this world, this old world, there is another kind of older race of humans here called the Broken. All we know about them now is they're just this savage feral race and something happened to them. Something that just destroyed their humanity. So I think this is a weapon from the feral times. Like back when they still had culture and civilization. And it may even be related. Who knows? But something very primitive. It could be as simple as just like a what if it's something along the lines of like a maul, like some kind of giant hammer that was consistently used for like executions, but specifically was like this hammer of like a tyrant who like history it was it should be okay. So these glyphs were made by the Broken, not and this tyrant I think predates them. This was probably one of the like old creatures of the world, like an old like a dwarf or like a dwarven king or something. And that's where these mines initially came from. It was this dwarf tyrant's hammer that used to use to execute by just smashing the heads of what the history of the Broken says were large, like often innocents. Like he just did not care. There was no real justice. It was this perversion of justice, and so many were slain by this hammer that just became more and more corrupt the more and more innocents it slew. And these hieroglyphs depict a place where called, let's get a name for this dwarven king. I know there's a generator for that in here. Other names. Here we go. So we have a random generator for giants, Varu, and trolls. We could it doesn't have to be a dwarf, I guess. We don't have one for dwarves. We also have elves in here. Grimordius. Sure. We can go with that. Fuck it. If rather than generate, Grimordius sounds good to me. Oh, really? One of your old characters' names. Well, then I will happily commemorate your old character with making him this dwarven king tyrant who killed many innocents. So this King Grimordius, there's a spot in here where, yeah, exactly. That's why I figured it would indeed be an honor. It's like Grimordius's fall or like Grimordius's doom. It's this chasm somewhere in here where the earth split and is said to have swallowed him, and he just fell into the darkness, and ultimately like corrupted this place and turned it into the dark magic that it was. Gotcha. So yeah, there's like it depicts the scene where he's where like there's an uprising among the Broken, and like all these broken slaves managed to like to push him off into his doom, but it cursed this place. But there's also a spot somewhere here where, and it's not clear about where that is, but somewhere his hammer is said to still be findable in the depths of these caves. Like it has a like maybe it makes reference, like the pictures make reference to the fact that like he had a secret chamber somewhere in here that where he would keep his most precious things, and it shows the idea of like the hammer being inside it, but we don't know where that is. And maybe higher up back in the mine section, it may be, who knows, but in these kind of twisted dwarven halls, and like ancient dwarves, and like which is why some of this isn't really worked or anything. Or maybe, yeah, actually, I guess it's probably more just because the earth has shifted so much with the corruption around here. Anyway, we learn all of this, and we understand how we can proceed forward, and that, or rather, we just learn a little bit more about what's going on in this environment and like why this place is the way it is. Now we still don't really know like why it's such a like dream-filled place, which is. That's the other question, but that may be more of a question for the fortune teller or oracle down below. I think that's gonna be it's less of a like cliffhanger type of thing than usual, but I think it's still a poignant enough moment that's where we're gonna leave off. We're gonna leave off on a strong hit, but at this moment where Flint has an opportunity to like study this wall and learn about what happened in this place. and raises a little bit more questions. And then and you know, looks down to his lantern again, because the idea of all these slaves just makes him think back to all the souls kept inside of here. And he looks to the like the pouch where he's keeping the key. And I think the last thing he does is he like feels this pull and this whisper in his mind, like, unlock the lantern, unlock the lantern. And it's just like constant. It's echoing like unlock, covering each other up. Unlock the lantern. And with all these voices in his head, he doesn't trust himself to be able to fight this off. And so the last thing he does is like, I feel like he should tie this key up and more of like secure it even more. Like it's a little bit too like all he has to do is reach for it and grab it right now. Other than swallowing it, because that went very poorly last time we tried to do that. Where's another place and I'm not sticking up my butt. Let's see, another place where you could hide it to be a little bit more secure. It's funny, I almost think of like, what if he has like a lockbox with its own key that like he locks the key inside a lockbox? Just something to make it so it's not so immediate that he could just pull it out like that. Yeah, we'll go with that. That he's got just like in his pack, there's some kind of just keepsake box that's just big enough for the key. And so like we go out on like with all these whispers, he takes out the key. He's looking at the lantern. But then he takes out the box, takes the key, and like puts it in there, locks it closed, puts it back in the pack, and starts trudging off into the darkness of the cave. And that will be where we leave it, just a little bit early, but on a nice strong moment. And we'll see where he picks up, hopefully finding the fortune teller next time. I think we're getting close enough. It's starting to get reasonable. We had a good night tonight. I like the way things went. Nice and interesting. We had our fight that we were able to survive. I was seriously very worried when we started it because we were going into it with very low health, and we did not exactly come out unscathed. But yeah, had a lot of mental trauma along the way. But we learned some interesting things. We finally made our first progress on finding my son, and I could not be happier with what that turned into. It's going to be interesting. Questions raised, and yeah, the story goes on. I'm not going to pad this out to just artificially get us all the way to 10 o'clock, like I sometimes do. But I hope you guys enjoyed. If you missed some of this or have not seen some of the previous sessions, and now you're just like, man, how did we get to this point? I want to get more engaged. All of these sessions go up on my YouTube. There's a link down below to my YouTube page. They're all together on a playlist. This one will be up there later. I'll start the process later tonight. It probably won't be actually there until tomorrow night, just because I've got I have work in the intervening time. But they're all available there. And similarly, if you played this game and you're now intrigued to be like, man, that was really cool the way that worked with entirely no DM off the cuff like that. How can I play this system? Where can I get this? All you got to do is go to ironswornrpg.com. The game is pay what you want. You can get a hardback copy or a soft cover. Like you can buy a copy, but for just the PDFs, you can get them entirely for free if you want to check them out. I can tell you they're so worth it. Later on in this campaign, my plan is to probably buy a hard copy, see if I can get Sean to sign it, and we'll do a giveaway for that because I need to finally support this game. It certainly supported me. But yeah, available for free on there if you want to check it out. It is so well put together for a free game. It does not look like a free game at all. It's a fantastic PDF. It is well organized. It is well just like broken down and bookmarked and everything. Got a great index. It's just can't say enough nice things about the product in every single form. Nice artwork, nice inclusive artwork. Just seriously, give it a read sometime. It's not all that long. Should be able to pick it up easily. And hey, you can do it just like this to play solo RPGs just on the fly. When you're like, I don't know what to do. There's nobody over. I'm kind of bored. You can just run an RPG completely solo. Or you can do it co-op and with a group. It supports 3 different modes of play. Really, really suggest it. Love it a lot. Yeah. Anyway, have a good night, everybody. I'm going to finally get that water. And hope to see you around. I will be back. Oh, yeah. Before I go, I will be back Thursday night at 7 p.m. We are going to be playing... We're going to finally date Colonel Sanders. As I mentioned on Sunday, 7 p.m. Pacific time on Thursday, we're going to finally try and date Colonel Sanders and not break my audio equipment in the process. And then if you can't make that, there's, of course, Sunday night, 5 to 9 p.m. Pacific time, there is the cello stream. Taking all cello requests and cool stuff like that. Now, for real, see you all later.